Welcome to Off the Console. This is the hottest new podcast where we talk about games and tech and generally anything nerdy that tickles our fancy. My name is Gardner. I'm here with my friends. Go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
The Brink and also the James and also whatever else you want to call me because I do multiple stuff.
I'm High Tech Low Life. I do multiple things. I think I've introduced myself before, but in case you need an introduction, I make videos and I am the only person here using a VTuber model for reasons.
Respectable. Today, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Oh, I should probably introduce myself. My name is Gardner. I also make YouTube videos, and I'm also a game developer. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. We got Ioneo in the news. We got Qualcomm having their ARM license revoked, more Ubisoft layoffs, and a whole bunch of other things that we're going to talk about today. So the first thing I want to ask you guys is, what have you guys been playing this week?
Well, I was actually sent over this Trim UI Smart Pro very recently. It's my first retro handheld, the sorts of retro handhelds that Retro Gamecore would try out. And honestly, it's been pretty fun. I will say though, they gave me a micro SD card that was loaded to the brim with ROMs, and obviously that is illegal. And not just ROMs of old games that you can't buy anymore, but portmaster ports of games you can buy. And, typically the portmaster ports require you provide your own files just in case.
Interesting. So what illegal games have you replaced?
Redacted.
No, just kidding. So in terms of legal games, they brought Balatro into the mix. And I do own Balatro, by the way.
Yeah.
I replaced that version of Balatro with my Ioneo XC. I don't know if that makes any better. I'm sure it does, right?
I'd imagine, yeah.
There's that too. I was really struggling to get this one shmup working. It's a game called Blue Revolver. It's a bullet hell shmup, and there's a portmaster port, but I cannot for the life of me figure out how to get that working. And it's supposed to support my device too. The whole portmaster situation is kind of weird because some ports support the Trim UI, others support the Ambernick devices, and it's a very confusing mess.
Yeah, that does sound like a mess. So you were enjoying it though, the device?
So far. I recorded some footage on it, and I'm trying to gather my thoughts on it. It's also interesting that they included a lot of ROMs that don't run that well. I tried Tekken 6, and that runs like ass.
Getting those types of devices is always funny because I've had some. I got this weird, almost it's like a bear a device, a little small handheld that had knockoffs of multiple different Nintendo games. They weren't illegal ROMs, but copyright might have something to say about them. And they were fun, but it's so bizarre to see characters in games in such a different light. I don't know if those are all legit games or copycats. You have any copycats, but it's funny.
So what have you guys been doing though? Enough about me. What have you guys been doing this week?
I've been testing out the Doom Eternal and a bunch of other games on this Framework laptop that Framework sent me.
Nice.
It's the Framework 13. It's got the 7840U, the Ryzen 7 7840U, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. And I love this laptop. It's got the modules in the back here, so you can just pop the module out like that.
Oh, dude.
And there's 4 of them. So I've been messing around with this and trying to get this to work and benchmarking it. And I'm hoping to have a video out about this on Monday. So very excited about this.
I've always wanted those Frameworks laptops.
They're so cool. They're there's a few little issues with this laptop, but I'm gonna save those issues for my review.
Yeah. It is a really cool laptop. It's really, it'd be fun to play with one of those. Doom Eternal wise though, that thing runs on everything.
Yeah, it's really well optimized and it works really great on there. There's a lot of games actually. What games do you like to benchmark? Cause I got some time before I have to get this video done. And so, what do you guys like to use for benchmarking?
It's a good question. For me, Doom Eternal is actually one of the ones I do, especially for low-end devices, because on the Steam Deck, it is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And you hook it up to a TV, and the upscaling on that thing makes it look like you're playing it on the PS4 or 5 or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anything that has benchmarking tools in it, I'll tend to use. games wise, but I tend to mix it up every year. I feel like Dead Space, sometimes I like to see how that works because their events aren't controlled well. And so you can see where it really hits the GPU on certain, and RAM and all that, like where it really hits it in certain areas. And I like to test that out just to see how well the device can handle it. But
yeah, I'm definitely going to try Dead Space now that you mentioned it, because I have the remastered one and I like how that works. I just like that game a lot anyway.
one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I don't do too much performance benchmarking. The most benchmarking I've done is like the battery testing, and that's just me setting up devices and recording for fucking 8 hours on end.
I'm the opposite. I'd rather do benchmark of a game than before I do a benchmark of the battery, because I have kids and they'll mess it up. They'll come in and they'll mess it up somehow.
Yeah. I don't like doing any benchmarking, but people complain when I just give like a straight review, like this is how everything felt to me. People hate that for some reason, and I
do that a lot too.
Yeah. So I have to add like some kind of benchmarks, and then you don't get like the angry, like, why didn't you test the circularity of the D-pad? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. I don't know. I do a lot of controller reviews on my channel, and people are like, you need to test the circularity of the analog stick, and I don't know how to do that.
You gotta control the narrative. I find you gotta like set expectations of, these are my benchmarks. I go off of feel and how it is, and like it, and then it helps, but you're never gonna get away from commenters that are gonna be angry.
It's all about like the subjective experience to me, and that's why I like reviewing laptops and hardware like that, because I don't know, I like having things to compare to, and that's where my benchmarking is. It's like my subjective experience using like the HP Dev 1 versus using like a Purism laptop versus using a framework. It's like, that's where my benchmarks lie.
Mine's fully off of like recommendations, like should you and who's this for is kind of like how I go about it typically.
My controller benchmarks are nowhere near as complex. Mine are just, can I do this really hard to do move in a fighting game with a D-pad? Then it's a good controller.
Yeah. Well, I think that's not a bad thing though.
That's not as good of a right, because I can do them on like just about every controller too, which I guess is not whatever. I go off of feel and whether or not I like them for 3D games, 2D games. I mean, the circularity thing, I think they're talking about that one application that shows like air, like, or I guess it's a web app, I guess, that shows like margins of errors for the stick where you like rotate it slowly and it shows like the blue graph. I forget what the name of that website is.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see like the UI in my head, but I've only used it once, and I was using that when I was like developing a game for a browser that I never released.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just I think that's what they want to see. You got to give it to them. It's like, it's got a 0.001% like error in the sticks.
Yeah, that makes sense. James, what have you been playing this week, James?
I have been gearing up to play, meaning I'm getting a lot of work done, including off the console stuff. Kind of, I want to, clips and stuff. But I am going to be doing some streams next week on Alan Wake's new DLC, Alan Wake 2's new DLC, which I loved Alan Wake. And then I'm going to be playing Silent Hill 2, the remake. Those are the two that I plan on. I'm taking time off next week. I'm getting my horror Halloween self playing something next week. As far as like excited though, I ran across Chronos. This is another one we talked about last week with some I don't know if this one was in the Next Fest, but Chronos is a horror game I don't know if people have seen yet. Chronos The New Dawn is pretty interesting. You guys might want to go check it out. It's very bizarre helmet. It feels like it's like a Silent Hill meets Dead Space meets, it's time traveling also. If you've ever played The Medium or games by the same developer, that's who makes it. That's also, it's not coming out till next year, but that's on my radar.
Nice.
I love horror. I love all that. I love a lot of different things, but when Halloween comes around, my horrors, I just have to do horror. I have to do it. So I'm in that phase right now.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Dead Space a little bit, and that's probably going to be my Halloween go-to this year. I absolutely love Dead Space. And if it's not Dead Space, Alien Isolation, is that what it's called?
Yes.
The recent one.
I have
Within the last 10 years.
one?
It's within the last 10 years.
Yeah. I haven't beat it yet. I played 4 hours. I should probably beat that. Those are the worst types of games, are the ones where I can't defeat something.
Yeah.
I will play them. I've played multiple, but I usually push them off for other things.
Yeah. For me, like, I actually like those kind of games where you can't really beat it. Like, I don't know. One of my favorite games is like Spelunky, and I know it's like a completely different genre and everything, but I just like those kind of games where you just have to go at it, like face it. Whatever, I'm blanking on the term, but like, you can't beat the alien, and you can't really beat Spelunky. I mean, you can, but there's like so much to it, and it's like you're just always going back and back and back to the beginning. And I think there's some kind of morsel of correlation between the two ideas, but
I just those are the types that kind of freak me out. It just like amps the anxiety. Like, I can't defeat it, so I have to run away. It's not like it's bad for me. I just usually I like them. I just avoid them.
Mm-hmm.
Like those types of bosses. Like, there's bosses when you're in games where you're like, you can never defeat that one on its own, are always the most frustrating for me, because I want to take things on and just conquer it. But yeah, still fun though. I need to get. It's been on my list. I want to play Alien Isolation more.
I have a live stream from back when I first started my YouTube channel, and I was playing Alien Isolation because it was new at the time. I was legitimately like absolutely terrified, wearing headphones, and all of a sudden the monster, like the alien, like jumped out, and I just threw my headphones and hit the screen, and like everyone chat was laughing. I don't know. It was just a hilarious time. And it's a very old live stream.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So with you guys, you both streamed games and also recorded them. Like, you have them on any channel. It sounds like you do, Gardner, but high tech to you.
I don't actually typically stream.
Not typically, but have you ever done it?
I think I might have done it once or twice.
Okay.
When I typically stream things like the Game Awards and my reaction to them, because let's be frank, part of me thinks that maybe games like Dave the Diver shouldn't be considered indie.
Shouldn't be considered what?
Indie, because they were nominated.
Indie. Yeah.
They were nominated for best indie game. And like, like, it's a good game. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's not an indie game.
Who's the publisher of Dave the Diver?
Mini Rocket, which is a subsidiary of Nexon.
Yeah, I'd have to agree just based on that.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure. They needed to do new, like retro or something for that type of stuff. So here's the thing. You should record some, do a little bit of streaming, maybe on another YouTube channel. Cause you go back, I don't know about you, Gardner, but I've done streaming on and off before I ever did the Games Revealed thing, just for fun. And going back to some of my old stuff it's bizarrely fascinating to see where you come from, or where you're at now and where you were, like how you respond to stuff in an amateurish. Sometimes you are. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, I've gone back and like reviewed some of my old ones, and it's like, I'm like, man, my voice was like, so much higher, and like I didn't know how to like project my voice, and it was, I don't know, I'm like not playing like my persona that I adopt when I'm on camera, and it's always interesting, not saying I'm like much different, but like there is a bit of a small affect that I adopt when I'm like doing something like this.
Yeah, you've got that sort of je ne sais quoi that you've got now that you didn't have back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's time for us to talk about our topics.
Yeah.
Ioneo, the DMG. There's a video there, and well, have you guys watched it yet?
I started to.
I've watched a few things on it. I've watched a few things on it before. So
is it possible to put the video up here? I know that's more like for like streaming the like, but is it possible to put it up here and then like incorporate that? And then we just react to it live?
Potentially, yeah. If that's what you want to do, let's do it.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can. Yeah, I should have downloaded the app though. I have so much stuff recording right now, and then I have like 4 VS Code. So let's see here.
Well, the video is actually it's like 10 minutes long, so we can like skip the choice bits of it. Well, actually, we can do that. We can worry about that later. But what the Pocket DMG has a trackpad.
That's actually pretty neat. I'm all in favor of a trackpad.
It is actually pretty neat.
Let's watch this. While we're watching this, why don't you explain some stuff, High Tech?
So on top of doing Windows handhelds, they also do a bunch of Android handhelds. Some of which I believe they have Qualcomm processors, which we'll talk about them later, but essentially it's an Android handheld. It looks like an old Game Boy, and that's definitely what they're going for, given that they called it the DMG after all. And the neat feature that's showcased in this video is the trackpad that they have, which can be used for mousing operations for some games, I suppose, but can also be used as a sort of right analog stick. Oh, see,
Okay,
look, see,
interesting.
yeah, see, it's got a Snapdragon processor, which going with Snapdragon might bite them in the ass for reasons we'll talk about later. But essentially, Pocket DMG. It's a Game Boy.
I like how they have Game Boy cartridges there. Are they actually compatible with Game Boy cartridges? I wouldn't be surprised.
Lord, no.
I think they have something to do with it, though. I swear.
Really?
Like, this is the final iteration of it, right? I think I looked into this like a few months ago when they first announced it, and they had something to do with the cartridges, that like some retro thing. But yeah, no, it looks really. I'm not gonna be honest. The trackpad almost is a turnoff, partially for me. Just to train myself to use that on retro games kind of seems annoying, but it looks awesome.
You could just play games that don't use a right stick.
I could.
Yeah,
I could.
I'm interested in how this is gonna feel to hold, because that thumbstick looks awkwardly placed, and I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. Also, does it have right and left triggers or like buttons in the rear?
I think it does.
I think it does.
On the back, it has triggers. I'm pretty sure it does.
I don't know if it's stacked or if they're like side by side. I honestly don't like side by side triggers, like the bumpers and triggers being side by side.
Neither do I.
I mean, I know it's like a concession for having a controller that's really thin or whatever, but like I'm just not a fan. Just make it a little thicker.
That demo's pretty cool, though. I have to admit, that was kind of cool to do the precision, but
so the way this guy's holding it right here looks almost comfortable to me. Like I could imagine
that right side does not look comfortable in any way.
Really? Okay.
The right one, like the one on the right, like that looks Some of them look comfortable. Like that right there looks comfortable enough. The other one, I think it just depends on how your hands are. That's the problem with these devices that are designed like this, is that I feel like they're only designed for a certain type of hand, or when they're doing the development, they're designing it with not a large sample size of hand sizes. Steam Deck.
Go ahead.
Has a little bit of that. No, I can stop. I just, some devices just, I think are going to feel better for some people. And that's why when you're doing controllers, when you're doing a lot of these devices, you got to say like how big your hands are, show them or something like that. And like, because Linus Tech Tips, has a different grip than, someone else that's going to be much bigger. And so.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't like about the trackpad is that it's in the center of the device. It's not like towards the right of the device. I feel like it'd be a lot better if like they had the left stick on the left like it is now, and then they split that area, and then they have the trackpad on the right, and then they put the start and select button like somewhere else.
I think it probably depends on how like big the capacitive area is on the trackpad, because if you're trying to go to the if the capacitive area goes all the way down to the bottom of where that lip is, then trying to reach that if it was closer to the edge on the right side would be a little harder to reach, I think. It also looks like that you can actually click the trackpad, so there's like a physical click.
Yeah, I believe so too. There should be some gameplay of like a PC game in there somewhere. Is it possible to like scrub and find that?
Of a PC game?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
like
was
they're
gonna
using
say,
they're like a mousing game.
I was gonna say, like, I'm interested to see when Valve comes out with like an ARM-based version of SteamOS, if the Pocket DMG here is going to be supporting that.
Oh, they also had footage of Cyberpunk streaming to it.
Oh yeah,
Like
streaming.
Yeah,
There's a first person.
yeah,
That
but that's
does not look great.
I mean, that's a PS2 FPS from like back in the day. I remember that game. It's called Black.
That one's black.
That looked
the
like
the
black
one
to
with
me.
the one with the shotgun. The one with the shotgun.
Oh,
the guy running with the
yeah,
shotgun.
yeah.
Yeah, that's Black.
It didn't look like it controlled very well.
No,
I'm not gonna lie.
No, look,
Wait,
he's mousing something. Certainly using a mouse for something. If it's not for a game, though.
is it gonna have a? Oh no.
So I've never actually used any devices with the Snapdragon G3X. Is that what the processor is? I remember seeing it in the video somewhere. Yeah.
I haven't.
Okay, Genshin on Android does not have controller support. In order to use controllers with Genshin, you have to like map touchscreen elements to buttons, which is super annoying.
Yeah, you can see it there in that video too.
Like there are other games, legitimately. Like there are other games. What was it? Honkai Star Rail, and also the new one, Zenless Zone Zero. They actually support controller.
Yeah,
But Genshin still doesn't for some reason, and I cannot imagine why they wouldn't just add it at this point to Android, because the iPhone version has controller support.
I don't either, because honestly, adding controller support is not that hard of a thing. You'd have to have the worst game engine in the world to not be able to add controller support.
Yeah,
Their PC version also has controller support too, and obviously there's I think there's a PS5 version as well.
I will say that, like, in my experience, like the difference between Android like controller input and PC controller input there is some differences. But like it's not enough that it's insurmountable for a developer, especially if they're publishing on both platforms. They have the technical ability to be able to do that. So it's weird that they don't.
So there it is, G3X. I've never actually used a handheld or any real device with that processor. Do you guys have any experience with that? With them?
Honestly, mainly sticks to more different. Like, if it's Atom, it's usually Mac when I'm testing stuff.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, Android wise, like it's fun and all, and I have a couple of Android handhelds, but I tend not to use them. I gravitate away from them.
That makes sense. Speaking of Qualcomm, though, did you guys hear about the news with Qualcomm and their ongoing feud with ARM, the guys that designed the processors to begin with?
Yes,
Yes.
ridiculous.
It's huge news because, you know, say what you will about Qualcomm, they're the ones trying to push like ARM into the greater, like outside of just Apple itself. They're the only other company trying to push ARM. And without Qualcomm, I mean, what happens to like everyone's efforts in trying to get ARM like computing up and running?
That's, I don't know. We just don't know about what deals they're in the middle of. Because like I said, AMD's should be releasing one next year. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of companies have like some type of arrangement or working prototypes and stuff. So they might be feeling a little bit full of themselves to be able to pull something like this. But just, yeah, I mean, I've been more wrapped up in the PHP drama more than this, or the WordPress, but that's a completely other topic for a different podcast or whatever.
Yeah, you have to fill me on that later. But yeah, it's crazy because ARM, like when you think about like high-end Android devices, like 99% of them use like Qualcomm devices. They use the Snapdragon like processors, and there's also the there's also not Windows handheld, sorry, Windows laptops that are using Qualcomm devices as well. I know they're like focusing on AI and stuff, but like they're also just pretty decent computers. They're like power efficient for what they are too.
Yeah, I'm curious how this will affect Qualcomm because they're a huge deal when it comes to like manufacturing of other non-x86 CPUs. Let's just put it that way. And I'm curious if maybe Qualcomm has some kind of RISC-V up their sleeve, like because I would be totally down for a more open CPU architecture.
RISC-V.
Yeah, have you heard of RISC-V?
I have. I have a friend. I had a friend that like loves like talking about RISC-V processors, and it's promising. Don't get me wrong.
Probably not ready for prime time yet, but it's like I don't know. Just the fact that like it's an open architecture means that shenanigans like this can't be pulled by upstream vendors.
Absolutely.
And it's one of the reasons that I believe in open source so much is because. So this is basically a supply chain attack from a vendor that you rely on, So I don't know what the actual drama between them is. Do you guys know what their dispute is all about?
Sometimes these things are a little bit more private, meaning it's usually they're probably negotiating. Once again, I've looked at it. I didn't see any real reason, but it could be in the contract, but I'm speculating. Like usually when they're like licensing, they usually renew contracts, right? For licensing could be up and they're trying to get a lot more than Qualcomm wants. I'm also, when it comes to like core technologies, that are very important to just society, like processors and stuff like this. Like I'm 100% for open source too. I don't like gatekeeping, and I feel like these companies tend to gatekeep important technologies that should be like you can go and specialize maybe and have like a special architecture that you could maybe license, but I don't like having like this type of stuff happen. I want it just I feel like it prevents innovation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
I was just gonna say one quick thing, like as an example. AMD has their, I think they've open sourced their graphics API, right? And so instead of DirectX, where DirectX is a license, I think AMD's going the open source route. But I don't know how good of open source license it is. But it's just like an example of we need more of that type of thing where companies are like, we all use this, like we all make the same hardware. Why gatekeep it and just make it so that the innovation is not as quick or useful for the consumer?
Yeah, I think I don't remember what it was called before, but Vulkan is what you're talking about.
Vulkan's what I was talking about.
It was called Mantle back then.
It was called Mantle. That's right. I knew it started with M, and I was like Mantle, Metal, something like that. But yeah, that's a great example. It's like AMD knew that it was a big deal, that what they were working on was going to be influential and a positive change, and so they made what they were working on, which was basically a proprietary technology for them, into something that was open source. And they gave it to the people that did OpenGL, and OpenGL completely like rebranded their company, and now there's the Vulkan Foundation or something like that. So it's like, it's really important that we have open standards. It's like one of the only reasons that we have such interoperability between various types of computing devices, because we have open standards.
Thank God too.
Yeah, well, and that's a great example of I think AMD did it because they kind of had to. If they tried to do a proprietary, it just wouldn't have taken off as well. But it was for them to control the narrative a little bit, and that's I think a good way to do it. Honestly, if you can't break into it, open source it, and then you look good, and you also benefit society, like benefit the community. Why not?
No.
So I will say the main reason why Qualcomm and ARM got into a spat to begin with was because Qualcomm acquired another ARM licensee, and according to ARM, failed to renegotiate contract terms due to that.
Yep.
So I mean, it's more bureaucratic bullcrap, to be honest.
That's what when I was reading this, I was like, that's what this sounds like. And usually with this, there could be a lot of retroactive fees that attached to it. So that could be why they don't want to. They might have a lot of fees they have to pay because of it. And so,
I mean,
not
it
to get
make-
too deep into assumptions, of course.
Yeah, it makes sense though. I can understand why ARM would want them to renegotiate, given that essentially they. I mean, I'm not ARM. I'm not a business major, but from what it sounds like ARM just lost a customer to and like they want Qualcomm to essentially compensate them for that. You know what I'm saying? Because imagine
Maybe, but the
'cause, like-
licensing depending on how their licensing works, they probably lost a little bit of revenue because I bet you Qualcomm has a pretty nice agreement, but it's not like they didn't lose a customer. Qualcomm acquired one and is still producing the similar amount. It's just it's like you said, it is just paperwork.
It is what it is, man.
Yeah.
I'm not too big on these business dealings, especially the sort of backdoor business dealings. So it might be time for me to head out a little early. If you guys are still recording by the time I make it back, I'll be sure to rejoin.
It has you two in it. It has you in it. It has you in it.
Yeah,
You're just taking a quick break.
Yeah, I'm just taking a quick break. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and head out. See you guys later.
Okay, see ya.
Thanks, man.
All right, have a good day, y'all.
But
You too.
well, with that,
Okay,
should we move on to Ubisoft?
One last thing I just want to know.
Sure.
What the reason why, and I try to bring this up with people. The reason why I kind of get, I don't try to defend businesses too much. I try to just add, because people are really quick, like, oh, something bad happened. It's one-sided fault. Like, it's usually complexities. The world's very complex. And that's why I add, like, this licensing and them renegotiating and a lot of legal, like, if one company doesn't make sure that they're on legal grounds and sure things up, things get drastically worse down the line and opens up to a lot of lawsuits that if a company gets too greedy and goes and attacks it. So that's why I usually, like, I'll defend companies a little bit, but I agree. Like, and this one just seems like a petty squabble. And there's just no way that they're going to go away from ARM without a contingency plan. ARM could pretty much just, like, ask for whatever.
I'm curious, like, what the licensing terms of the company that was acquired were. Like, did the company that was acquired have a better deal than Qualcomm somehow, and then Qualcomm started trying to use that deal? Or, like, I just can't imagine that, you know, there are many vendors that get better deals from, like, ARM than Qualcomm, right? Like, Apple probably does, but that's about it.
That's true. I bet you it could, like you said, it's either two things. Either they had, like, some weird startup agreement with ARM to, like, not charge a whole lot so that they can have a competitive edge, or and then Qualcomm acquired them, and so they're getting too sweet of a deal, or it's the opposite, or it's not the opposite. It's maybe they could have acquired and shut them down. Then they are losing a customer. Usually, I know once companies get to a certain size, they start to do competitive acquisitions, and then that gets all messy. And that's the kind of side of, like, capitalism that's, like, fairly destructive, is overtaking and destroying of companies for and stripping, like, it's like strip mining assets from a company, like IPs and all that. Like, it's always interesting.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I could go off on a whole tangent about corporate acquisitions, but yeah, I've always been skeptical of it. So it's just interesting that this fight has moved into that direction now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about this topic. I wish that I knew more about it.
Well, I know. Well, I wish I could dive deeper into it, but at the same time, I think it'd get too boring if we dove too deep into it.
Yeah.
The only acquisition I can think of in the past little while that I thought was good, and I still am very split on, is the Microsoft acquisition of, like, Blizzard.
Yeah.
Because I think Blizzard was going to die. I think they were going to die. And Microsoft acquiring them, yes, did hurt them in some ways, but I think they were hurting themselves so much worse. So,
yeah. I think Microsoft has proven that they're not, like, the greatest at running studios either. So doomed either way.
Well, there was a problem. They did all this acquisition, and then they were hoping, and they were all doing it through their subscription service, which I don't know who was managing their their expectations and their forecast of profits and all that. Like that type of acquisition to subscription was not going to work out very well. It squashes it down, and then it also is very deceiving, and that's why we had a lot of studios shut down. Partially, I just wish they would have shut down some of the other studios than the ones they did, because they shut down some of my favorites that did like Evil Within and the music one. But at the end of the day, I don't know about them acquiring those types of companies, but Blizzard was going to die. And I think that's saved them. We'll see from here on out if it was a good thing, but Microsoft acquiring some of the companies they did, the big ones have not really been hurt, I don't think. I'm curious if you thought so on that, but.
Well, I mean, I think Microsoft acquiring studios has had a long and storied history of being a disaster, right? There's the train.
There it is.
You go back to like some of their first acquisitions with the Xbox era, and it's like Rare and whoever else, who was the other one after Rare they did that irritated
They've
me?
acquired a lot of different things. They've also built a lot of software that's just been either good or very bad.
But I don't know. For Bethesda, Bethesda hasn't produced anything from, since they got acquired. Like Starfield was a disaster. I didn't like Starfield anyway. I don't know how you feel about it, but
Starfield was good. It was a scoping issue, in my opinion. I think they wanted to go so grandiose, but then they needed to deliver on something after so many years. And so what we got was something that was very long-winded, where it needed to be interesting. Like exploring planets was not interesting. It was cookie cutter bullshit, essentially what it was. It was bad. And that's where I dropped off. I want to go back and finish it because the main story is good. The sub stories that are like companion based and all that, those are good. But I like to explore and complete some of these. I'm a completionist when it comes to these types of games, and I got really bored visiting planet after planet to try to get the achievements, and some of the side stuff, quests done. And it really is. It's the same, like probably 10 different bases recycled, and that's being generous. It's probably more like 3 bases. It's bad, and they really should. That's the part where I'm like, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should not have delivered anything like that. You should have just cut it back and not allow us to go to some of those places, because it's just, it's bad.
Yeah.
But fun game. It just could have been it could have been so much better.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. So with that, talking about failing studios, how about Ubisoft?
I hope Ubisoft, or I hope Bethesda's not failing. I hope it's just a lull, and they get back. But yeah, Ubisoft, right? Like,
yeah, they're firing a bunch of the Prince of Persia team.
Yeah, they got dealt dirty too. I thought that game was pretty decent. I didn't play. I like Prince of Persia, but I didn't play it because I just didn't have time. But I thought it looked interesting.
I've always been like a Prince of Persia fan. Like when I was a kid, I played Prince of Persia on my friend's not Macintosh. Was it the Apple II that it was originally on? I feel like it was the Apple II.
It probably was.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy.
My friend had an all-in-one Mac, like one of the original like Mac classics or something. I think I played it on there, but this was very long ago, and so the fact that they're now the owners of the franchise, and there hasn't really been a great Prince of Persia game in a while, right? Like I'm trying to think. Was Sands of Time the last one that I played? I feel like, and that was like almost 20 years ago. So now Prince of Persia. Oh, that's the movie, 2010. I don't know. Did you see the movie?
The movie?
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, it was an okay movie.
It was interesting.
It was interesting. It for sure was an interesting movie.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the team, after disappointing sales from the game, has been like just completely disbanded. It looks like.
Yeah, Ubisoft is struggling. Okay, it's one thing. It's the whole AAA publisher studio battle kind of thing that's going on. Ubisoft is notorious. So is EA for trying to push their launcher stuff. Right. I understand why they want to have their launchers. They want to kind of control their. It's the same reason why gamers want to own their games. don't want a rug pulled out from under them. If they sell on Steam, and this is one thing that people don't understand sometimes, they host and sell on Steam. What if the price goes up? Yeah, it might retroactively not go up for the past stuff because there's an agreement, but they're already tied into that ecosystem. And if the price goes up, it just, it can hurt them. I understand that. It's the same thing with us gamers. We will get hurt on the other side if prices go up and all that. I think that's why they kind of do the launchers, but they need to do either micro launchers or they need to get some agreement with Steam and some of these other like Epic games and do better jobs, because shoving Ubisoft's really liked releasing games exclusively on their launcher, and their launcher, especially years ago, was garbage. I don't know how it is now, but I don't manage a bunch of different launchers very well. And so I'm not going to buy it until it's on Steam, not out of principle, but out of ease. Make it harder for me. I'm not going to buy it.
Yeah, I haven't bought a Ubisoft game in years and years and years. So for me, I don't know how the Ubisoft launcher is, but the last time I used it, it was complete garbage. I couldn't handle it. And then there's also like the overhead of just having multiple launchers running in the background on your PC. And if you don't have like a powerful enough rig, then that's going to impact performance. And I don't know. So,
or the updates that pop up, like you restart your computer. I feel like I get like 4 pop-ups. It's like, hey, each launcher needs to update. I got tired of it. Rarely will I use another third-party launcher unless I'm playing a game like Dead Space or something like I'd have to, but kind of not, because they keep moving on and off.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just remarkable to me that, that they still think that it's profitable for them to be pushing Ubisoft, the Ubisoft launcher to this day, where it's like, I feel like that has harmed their reputation so egregiously that they still think it's worth it. I don't know. But it was, I'm guessing that this was launched for a bunch of different platforms, this new, for the Persia game, right?
I read somewhere the other day that it was partially a launcher issue. Like they maybe released it early on on their exclusive Ubisoft launcher store or whatever. That's what I read. And that's one of the downsides actually that caused this to be an issue. And that's why I brought it up. I think you can buy it in other places, but honestly, I don't know if I've noticed. I haven't looked on Steam.
I didn't even know that this was coming out.
I knew it was coming out this year, but I have not seen. I knew it, and I kind of knew that it came out, but I haven't seen it anywhere I shop games, and so that's not a good thing.
Right.
I'm on Steam all the time. I'm on Epic Games all the time. Those are my two. I use those for mostly everything. And if you're not popping up on those, then maybe Green Man Games or one of those other places where I sometimes will go for deals. Sometimes, if you're not popping up at anywhere like that, then, and this is very anecdotal, I'm not going to even come close to purchasing, right? But
I feel the same way. It's like, if it doesn't show up on like Steam or on like Humble or something, I'm not going to see it. And if I don't see it in one of those locations, like, oh, it's coming out, I'm probably not even going to know it's coming out.
Yep.
I go on like Steam Deck HQ. I go on Gaming on Linux. I go on the subreddits regarding the Steam Deck. If it doesn't show up there, I'm not going to know it's happening. I'm not going to follow it, and I'm not going to buy it. Now, again, you said that it's probably anecdotal, but that's just my perspective. Like, I am not, I can't say that I'm like not completely unusual. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are a lot of people who are like us. And then there are other PC gamers who are like, they follow the same thing. It's like, we're Steam Deck, or we're Steam gamers. We're going to be on Epic Games. We're not going to follow Ubisoft Connect's like exclusive launches. So I don't know. They did a couple weeks ago say that they were going to be releasing their games on Steam
again,
right? Which, I mean, that might actually be able to save their company. You know what I'm saying? But they're also kind of
it's so damaged already though, and their reputation. Yeah. These companies need to build rapport. They don't understand how, like, I feel like they've got the C-level execs, they're getting their bonuses. They don't understand how to build rapport anymore, and they're just kind of burning it slowly down. Because you want to especially with gamers. And this is the hard part about even doing YouTube stuff in this like realm, is that gamers are very opinionated and very grouchy when it comes to certain things. So if you piss them off, they could hold a grudge forever.
Yeah.
Unless it's a sports game where they have to just suck it up and just do it, because they can only get like, the licenses and all that. People will boycott stuff. Even Star Wars, it gets hit pretty bad by this too. Like you cannot play these games. Just make it easy for people to play. But there's also the whole, I know that Prince of Persia and Star Wars also got hit slightly by the culture war stuff going on. I don't think that stuff usually affects games that much as people want to say it does. I think it's a silly thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that Prince of Persia got hit by that a little bit. But I don't think that's what that could be something that they claim that people love scapegoats.
Mm-hmm.
And so one side's claiming that's why it is. And then you got the company that could potentially say that. But honestly, at the end of the day, I just don't think their marketing was that great.
No, I mean, like they didn't get the word out to me.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, I'm a Prince of Persia fan. I've been playing Prince of Persia for basically my entire life,
Yeah.
And I didn't know that Prince of Persia had a new game coming out.
I watched the was it the Game Awards or something like that? I watched one of the events where they announced games and I saw this and I actually liked it. I watched the chat on that thing too. And that was not my chat because I streamed watched it. I watched the other chat and it was pretty messy.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see a lot of marketing after that. I thought it looked cool. A lot of people actually did like it. I just didn't see a lot of marketing.
Yeah.
And in a sea of a lot of other titles, it's just another title that's kind of just floating by. And that's why it's important to have it and market it really well on prominent game stores, like Steam and everything. I think same thing with Star Wars Outlaws. It also didn't do very well, but they also half-assed the AI and a couple other things. But I think people have also gotten really used to having open world-esque games or like games, because I don't know if this was truly open world, but it's open world enough, Star Wars Outlaws. And I do know that it failed in certain aspects of living up to a AAA. And I think that's might be part of the problem. Well, Prince of Persia also came out, I think, at $60. They've dropped it to $40. I think it's doing better now, but it's a type of side-scrolling type of game where I know that's another consensus that I saw a lot online was it was too expensive. It was exclusively launched on Ubisoft's their own platform. It was, this, and this. And I just think because they did so much to essentially just capsize the boat on this launch that, it capsized. Like they kept on pushing that boat and in rocky waters and it capsized. It's unfortunately. And it's unfortunate because and the reason I care about this stuff so much is that it affects studios and these people that rely on jobs, and layoffs are not fun. It's very common in the game world. It shouldn't be, especially when you have big layoffs like with Microsoft. They did a huge layoff, right? And the CEO of Microsoft got a fat $30 million, I think, increase to their salary or bonus. I can't remember, like on top of everything. And that could have been used to just support those studios for another year or two. Like I don't get, it boggles my mind how much money gets funneled up to that. And that's, once again, it gets a little in the political area, and I try not to too far to that.
James, you don't know how hard it is to fire people. That's really it's so ridiculous.
If you have a soul, it's hard to fire people. If you don't,
right. Exactly. I don't know. It's sad because, Microsoft was firing, they fired they did basically tanked Tango Gameworks, which was incredible, Yeah. They had some really great games in the last few years.
They're the ones that do Evil Within, aren't they?
I think so. I can't remember. They did Hi-Fi Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're the ones that also do, I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, they do Evil Within, Ghostwire, Hi-Fi Rush. They did a Hero Dice game on Android and iOS. That's weird. With ZeniMax. Oh, it must be like a ZeniMax Asia. It must have been an Asian release. But yeah, so Evil Within 2. Evil Within 2 is an amazing game. and you think there'd be more of those types of games like Evil Within, but there really aren't. I think they're a very unique studio, and I'm kind of hoping that a lot of them gather. Sometimes because they have enough clout, they can gather together and get a small indie publisher, right? And hopefully, I hope they gather together and get a small indie publisher and maybe either license some of these IPs that they've worked on in the past, or create an awesome new one, because I think they're some of the best developers out there. Tango Gameworks is, like, in the sense of unique gameplay.
Let's talk about the EmuDeck PC deal. Have you heard about what was going on with this?
I've been catching up on it. Do you know much about it?
So I made a video about it a
Oh.
couple weeks ago when they first announced was it an Indiegogo or was it a Kickstarter? I can't remember.
Actually, I think it was Indiegogo.
Yeah. And so I was interested in it. I thought it was a kind of an interesting idea. But I hadn't followed up on it. And so when this showed up in the show notes, I was like, interesting. So it just failed, right?
They didn't hit their requirement when I looked into it. And I'm curious what would have made it successful. And I was looking at it, and it looks interesting. The concept's cool. I love the direction they were going. I just don't know if I'll be honest. I don't do as many reviews as you do, Gardner. I'd like to get back into it because it's fun, but I don't do as many as you. And I have so many devices down in my basement. I don't want to add another. I just don't want another device. What I want is another way to repurpose my devices, or another way to utilize my devices. I just don't want another device.
Yeah.
It's e-waste, one, and then two, my brain just can't handle juggling so many devices. It's fun. And so I think the way that they went was potentially wrong. I think the shell for maybe repurposing some of my devices would be interesting, or repurposing Steam Deck would be fun. Even if it had soldering, like, cool, give me a good time, like, with that. But I think it was a kit, right? Or was it a full system? I can't remember.
I think there were two different ways you could, there was like a shell that you could get, I think. And then there was like it came with like a pre-assembled version.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it was an ITX, was it?
And I like the idea of a kit, right? Like, you get the shell, you get all the components that you need except for the motherboard and processor and CPU or GPU or whatever. That makes a lot of sense to me. But like having a pre-made PC, it's like there's so many options. There's so many vendors out there who are doing the exact same thing. And it's like, what's going to set something like an EmuDeck PC apart? I think, and this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. I've wanted to do a hardware project where it's like a 5.25 bay, right? And it has plug-in, like controller plugins that just, there's all the logic inside, or all the hardware inside to convert old school controllers to USB, right? And then you literally just plug in your SNES controller, your GameCube controller, and then Bob's your uncle, you can just use that retro hardware. Something like that would have set the EmuDeck PC apart from other.
Funny enough,
yeah.
Odin, they have a dock that does something similar to that.
Oh, cool.
It supports a couple. I believe I could be wrong, but I believe it supports a couple of different controllers. N64. I have to look at it again. Maybe PlayStation, but it supports a couple of different controllers, which is cool. I believe it's the Odin's dock, though. My dock's somewhere around here. It'd take me a second to look for it. There's projects that do that kind of already. It's just not, and I agree. Like, that's more interesting to me too. Something that I can plug in, because I have a bunch of old school controllers. And honestly, if you're playing an old school game, sometimes it just doesn't get better than using the old controller to bring back some of those feel goods. And
there's a reason that Nintendo keeps re-releasing GameCube controllers and GameCube controller adapters for their modern consoles. It's because I can't play Smash Bros. Without a GameCube controller. I can't do it, right? So I think that's the prime example. And then you're going to play something like Super Mario 64. it's designed for that joystick, right? That joystick and the C buttons and those controls are sublime. Playing like Super Mario 64 with like without at least having like the notched like cardinal directions on the analog controller.
It's a little bit more difficult.
It's different. It changes the feel of the game.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no stick drift, like I can't play it. No, just kidding. No, if I don't have dust coming off my controller and just like,
if you're not getting calluses on your hand or your palms, are you even playing Mario Party?
Yeah, exactly. No, I've come to be able to play Mario 64 on any device now because I like it so much. But I agree, certain games just are so hard without the original because your brain's trained to do it.
Yeah,
and it was designed for those controllers,
right?
And I think that's the thing with this project with EmuDeck's PC. I think if they would have done a very like simple one shell and convert kits, maybe like you could potentially just rip out the innards of your Steam Deck or something, and have it work. Projects like that, those are the type of things that I find fascinating. I don't want another thing just sitting there that is pre-built, and I potentially might not, and it's as powerful as maybe some of my other stuff, So I just don't want that.
At last count, I have like 40 PCs at my house. Like I have so many PCs. And then I have an entire like console, like media console of like retro game consoles. And it's like, I don't need more processing power. I have everything that I need. So it's like, what can they do aside from that to enhance my retro gaming experience? And
it's very saturated right now, which actually makes it very difficult sometimes to even make videos on it. I feel like, and it's interesting that they were going from software to hardware, and it's an interesting concept. If I was to give a recommendation to them, I'd go back to the drawing board, and if they want a successful project, maybe try again. But with, I would do some, and maybe they've done some market research, but in the business world, you usually do some type of market research. Reach out to like some good hardcore fans. Once again, I haven't been following the story very well, and see what they want. But I can say like you, Gardner, I think a kit that is very unique to play my retro stuff would be interesting. But a complete kit is just not that interesting.
Right. Yeah. It's like you really got to cater to what you're already doing, right? You're already doing the emulation stuff. So how can you differentiate? I mean, because it's hard to get into hardware anyway, right? Like software is easy. You can publish anything to the internet, and if people like it, they'll take to it. But to get hardware manufactured and out the door is incredibly difficult. And when I first saw their project too, like I thought that their hardware or their goals were a little too low. Like their thresholds for success were fairly low. And I was like, I'm a little skeptical. I can't see how, I don't remember what it was. I tried to look it up, and they've taken it down. But I remember their numbers were like $30,000 or something. And I was like, I don't know about that. But
it's really hard to hit numbers, but yeah. And especially if they don't have capital to start off with, hardware is a hard game. Like you have to have capital or agreements. And I think sometimes people don't understand that too. I feel for these types of like with the EmuDeck stuff. I do mainly, that's why honestly, that's one of the big reasons I stick to software when I do my type of building. Like I have Steam Deck software out there that I need to get back on and support, but even that's hard, with time restraints and all that.
Oh yeah. Especially if you're working a full-time gig anyway, and then you add, you're running an open source project and you're working on hardware. It's tough. Kudos to them for trying, but man.
I mean, I was maintaining a script to replace this is besides the other software. I was maintaining a script to replace your boot videos, right? For the Steam Deck. And that was also frustrating. Mm-hmm. And that's just software, right? Like people didn't know how to install it or remove it properly. And it's like all the instructions are there. If you don't know how to run a script, don't do it.
Right.
I always try to do that, but people want to run those scripts. It's fun. I love that Steam Deck has brought these type of communities and these types of projects out though. I do think that's a really important and good, and that they allow for innovation in the open source world to a point. Obviously, some things are a little controlling up, but they wouldn't be Valve if they were a little controlling about certain aspects. That's a very Valve-esque thing. But I'm really hoping that they rebrand, or even like there's a lot of avenues they can go. I hope that they don't kill the project off completely, but they either open source maybe their concepts, like maybe they have some 3D prints and stuff like that they were doing. I would be surprised if they didn't have 3D prints for their prototypes, right? In today's world, I don't know why you do anything else before going into more production ready stuff. But yeah, I'd love to see them do that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, it happened again. The Internet Archive was hacked again.
Oh.
They've had a very bad month. Now, have you heard anything about this story?
I've heard of so how many hacks have happened this year? I've heard of one. Is this a second or the first one?
This is a different one. So they got hacked, and I don't remember. I don't know the specifics of the first one, but they were down for like 2 weeks almost. But this one is different. This one, a hacker is responding to support requests that have been submitted to the Internet Archive, and Mashable said that they know this is happening because they submitted a support request to Internet Archive, and they ended up getting a response from the hacker. So, yeah, this is not good. This is sad because, like, the Internet Archive, there are a few things that people can agree upon today, and the Internet Archive is one of the things that is almost universally loved. So maybe the fact that they're just low-hanging fruit means that they have been so successfully attacked. And I don't know, nobody has claimed responsibility for these attacks, or I guess not for this attack. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, James?
So can they be trusted? I would say they're trying to do a good. Are they supported by nonprofit, or are they for profit?
I believe that they are a nonprofit.
I believe they are too. And I think they're trying to do a good. And honestly, resource constraints are a big deal. And why are people even attacking it is always the question. Why would you attack the Internet Archive if it wasn't for an agenda of maybe erasing something that's like Russian based or some type of political thing of just trying to scrub? Those usually come to mind with these types of things.
Yeah.
I think they can be trusted. I don't think it's unless you see things get deleted for no reason. I think they can be trusted. It's just, do they have the resources to protect against sophisticated attacks? And how many petabytes do they have? They have petabytes upon petabytes of data. Every year the archive gets drastically bigger. I don't even know how they do it.
Yeah, this is one of those scale issues, big data. But so they are a nonprofit organization. They were founded in 1996, and they offer like some of the most critical services that you need on the web. Like, they maintain basically an uninterrupted history of a not insignificant fraction of the entire internet, right?
Yep. And
that is an absolutely vital service for anyone who is doing research, for anyone who is doing journalism, for anyone who is trying to participate in the culture of the internet. And for them to be attacked like this, I mean, you said it, like, this reeks of adversarial intention, right? Like,
yeah, it's like more almost espionage level kind of stuff, where it's government level. It's usually, or someone wants to make a name for themselves.
I'm curious, honestly, if there isn't like some corporate something behind this, right? Like, who is going after websites with vigor? Nintendo, right? I'm not saying Nintendo's behind this, but Nintendo has been going after ROM websites for months, if not years at this point. And the Internet Archive that has a bunch of like zip files you can download that are full of Nintendo ROMs.
Do they?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. And dude, archive.org has some less than kosher stuff you can download.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that gets
like,
into the. I personally think it needs to be protected. Like honestly, on a governmental level, it needs to be protected. I think preservation is a very important thing, and I think this is kind of the digital records are kind of, if you're gonna, I take it to it, and it gets a little hairy depending on what type of content's being saved. Because there's certain sites that you might not need to have backups of, but for the most part, it's important to have that history.
Mhm.
I take it as if you were to dig up some dinosaur bones and just destroy them. It's kind of the same idea of once the Internet Archive, some of these, let's say if the thing's destroyed there and the backup's destroyed, it's gone potentially forever. You'll never see it again, and that is a really weird problem to be in, and also kind of scary in some ways. Like you want stuff like this to be protected. It does almost no harm. And the good it provides for history is just, you just cannot get away from how good I think the Internet Archive is. I don't use it very often, but I just know that it is worth preserving those types of things. And it is a big deal, including, getting into like, I kind of like that idea that they have ROMs. I wish they actually had all the games and everything preserved, because I like games that we played 20 years ago, what happens in 40 years from now? If all copies are essentially destroyed, or like the medium, like even in 100 years, the discs will degrade. You have to rely on digital copies of things. What happens to those things? They get lost to time, and they don't need to.
Yeah.
Because of pettiness of earning a little bit more from something you already earned millions, if not billions from, depending on the game.
Right. It's like, you can go on Internet Archive because they don't just have like the Wayback Machine, which you can like go in and look at old versions of websites, but they have like the actual like archive library. I can't remember what they call it, but you can go in here and you can find like delisted YouTube videos, right? You can find,
Oh, really?
oh yeah. Yeah. You go in here, you type in like Billboard 1992. And you'll find like the top 100 hits of 1992 Billboard. Like you can find all kinds of crucial information that, you go on other websites and you're just not going to find useful information anymore. And there's so much good stuff here. There are like backups of HP Pavilion's like setup utilities for this specific model of an HP Pavilion from like 2001. And you can download the boot disk for that. You can download the setup, and you can even get all the drivers and bloatware that came with, old school PCs. Yeah. So Tech Tangents and Lazy Game Reviews, when they get old hardware, right, and it comes with a disk, they will actually archive that disk and upload the ISOs to Internet Archive, because it's a reliable way of like keeping that information available on the internet.
Interesting.
It is such a vital resource, and it's tragic that it's being attacked.
Yeah, my website that's interesting.
Yeah.
'Cause I've iterated on my website, and I'm actually in the middle of like redoing the website completely again. And that's fascinating. I don't use it very often because I don't know why, I just don't. But I know the importance of it.
Yeah. And they do other stuff too. Like, they have other projects. They do like political TV ad archive. They do, building, they have an open library. They have a scanning service. They have the Wayback Machine. There's so much other stuff that they do. And they're one of like the true like nonprofits that actually care like what they're doing, and they're not motivated by like extreme corruption, as far as I understand it. So I really like Internet Archive. And if you have expertise in cybersecurity and you have some time on your hands, you can go donate some time to them. If you don't have that, you can donate money to what they're doing here, because this project is vital. So yeah, I highly recommend everybody uses the Internet Archive. They fight legal battles for preserving the openness of the web. And man, it can't be overstated how important they are. And so the fact that there are bad actors out there who are willing to attack such a service, I mean, it's just tragic. It's tragic.
It's nasty. It really is nasty. Yeah. No, I think that's a good call out. Go and support them if you can. I think that stuff's vital. I think it's just as vital as preserving games that I've talked about in the past. So for one of our last topics, though, the character AI faces lawsuit. I don't know really anything about that one, and I wasn't able to look at it because of the New York Times.
Yeah, so I watched a video about this earlier, and essentially there was a user of character AI, a teenage boy, and he ended up taking his own life because the AI character encouraged him to do it. Now, it's debatable whether, like, from what I've read of the interaction between the character and the person, wasn't necessarily that the character was encouraging the kid to, commit suicide. I don't know if we're going to say that on YouTube. There was, it was missed, right? Like, it felt like there were implications that he was going to hurt himself. And the lawsuit is not just against Character AI, which is a service that was founded by 2 Google employees. But the lawsuit is actually against Google as well, because according to the plaintiff, the son's mother here, she said that Google was using Character AI as a shell company to get data that they could then use to train more AI stuff, of their own in-house AI stuff. So it's kind of a legal mess. And if the allegations are true, then this is just another example of like Google just being unethical. Like, they've abandoned their
The
don't be
opposite
evil.
of what they said that they were, 20 years ago?
Yeah, don't be evil. Which, I mean, honestly, 30 years ago, they were saying that. So
That's true.
Google's been around for, since 95, 96, something like that.
Yeah, but when did they stop doing it? I feel like they removed that 10, 15 years ago.
Just before Alphabet was their parent company, just before they founded that. But dude, do you remember when Google was committed to that principle of don't be evil? Google search didn't even have ads for a long time, and people were sending Google money, checks and cash in the mail, saying what you're doing is so important and so useful to me that I'm willing to just pay you money. And it's just wild to think that now they have, dude, it's like Google has become like venom in the veins of the internet, right? Do you know how venom works?
He's an anti-hero, right? Or
well, I'm not talking about the
I was
character.
I wasn't sure.
About,
there's a whole Venom movie coming out. I'm like, okay, Venom itself.
Venom basically, when you get, so it's not poisonous. What happens is venom gets in your veins, and then it causes blood clots, and it spreads through your veins, and it literally prevents. It's like it strangles you from the blood vessel, right?
Yeah.
That's what Google has become. It feels like they have collected so much information and abused the openness of the web to such a point that they are now trying to just strangle out other websites, right?
Competitions, people they don't disagree with, or people they disagree with.
Yeah. And it's so now they're even putting AI responses in your search results. So it goes their AI response, then all of the paid crap that gets put in their ads or whatever, and then you finally get to search results 2 or 3 pages below the fold.
Funny enough, though, I have found those the AI responses are getting more useful for me and prevent me from looking at the ads more. So it's kind of nice, but sometimes it just gets it so wrong. I'm just like, why?
Right. Well,
Give me
here's
the
the
option
thing.
to do it.
Here's the thing, though. What Google search is going to become the AI result And then
Oh, yeah.
what the ads are going to become above, like you're going, in
Yeah,
order to even
it's-
be seen, they're going to have another whole tier of ads above the AI result. When are people going to actually look at the search result?
The problem is it will eventually destroy all companies that rely on an ad. So here's the thing. I'm not against ad revenue. I think it's important. It just needs to be more tasteful in the sense of like, don't inundate us. Some websites, they're like, okay, this is too crazy. But it's just going to kill those websites off because it's going to collect all its data, build its own thing, and then you'll never see those websites again.
Think about this. It used to be in the United States that, if you were a TV channel, right, like ABC, for example, you were not allowed to produce your own TV shows. Okay. Like, it used to be that if ABC produced a show, then ABC Network couldn't air that show. ABC had to sell the shows that they produced to NBC or CBS or any of the other broadcasters. And that was because it was too dangerous to allow a company to have such vertical integration, right?
Yeah.
And from my perspective, I don't know why we ever went away from that, first of all. But like, if we were to take that logic and apply it to the internet, why do we let Google sell ads on their own platform?
We
Facebook?
know how we went away from it,
Right.
lobbying. But
Of course. But from a practical standpoint, I don't understand it. Yeah. From a moral standpoint.
From a moral standpoint, it is it's disgusting behavior.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why. And I'm more of a convenience person. I'll be the first. Like, it's not the greatest thing. These days, I'm like, what's convenient? I will kind of just consume it that way. Amazon, while I'd love to boycott them, I still use Amazon out of convenience. But Google's hit that threshold for me. Its convenience level is like not worth what I'm trying to find a way to get off everything that Google lately. I still use their search. But one of these days I will, when I get around to it, I will replace it with something else. Not the biggest fan of DuckDuckGo. I'm not a big fan of, there's a whole other road I can go down on that, but I'm kind of just tired of Google with this type of stuff. I'm done with it.
Yeah. I would like to see the antitrust thing that came against them recently result in them being split up. Because they're
agreed.
too big. They're absolutely too big.
Yep.
And I would like to see just the Google Ads company be spun off into its own thing. And I'd like to see Google Search be spun off into its own thing. And then they have to exist. They have to fight to exist. And they have to justify their product based on its relevance to people's lives, right? Yeah. Android should be its own thing.
100%. Android's already, like, Google is in a fight for its life right now because all the lawsuits. I mean, Epic Games won their lawsuit against Google or Android and Android Store, saying you have to allow other stores to be on there. You cannot prevent it. Which is good. I think that's good for the consumer. And at the end of the day, like, these companies are going to hopefully start getting broken up. Like, this needs to be done for a while. Google, and what the stupid catalyst for me was Google domains is one of the reasons why I had Google domains, because it was convenient. And then they sold it to Squarespace, and I'm just, Squarespace, why? And that was the catalyst for me, where I'm just like, nope, I got an iPhone now. I'm not doing Android for a while. I'll do Android stuff, but like, it's just left, like, they cancel so many things, cancel so much, they do so much marketing, and I'm kind of just tired of relying on that, enjoying something, and then they cancel it, and they've done it so much over the decades.
Yeah.
I really hate it.
The thing is, like, if that happens, if Google gets broken up, YouTube would become its own thing. And then YouTube would probably cease to exist in a few years because it's just not sustainable the way it is. I honestly think that,
I mean, I've seen the revenue model. They say it's not sustainable. I've seen the revenue model, and it is sustainable. They just have to do some cleaning up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's in my opinion, though, on
Google
that.
has been subsidizing YouTube for so long because it is such a trove of data that they can use.
Yeah.
like and that's where YouTube has been able to be free for so long for you to upload
I think that
basically unlimited video
they've
content.
wanted us to think that they've been subsidizing.
True. Okay.
That's just my opinion on it. They do the companies like do these little trickery things that like, oh, things aren't sustainable. YouTube is a very like weird model though. Like if you don't have access to that, like if they do get broken up and they don't have the type of access they do to the GCP, like the Google Cloud Platform and hosting, they could go under. If they don't, that's where they're going to go under. Is just for context for people. I love YouTube, but you could upload whatever you want to YouTube to an extent. How many hours, streams, everything, that's expensive over time. There's a reason why that they've explored different ad revenue models that, and at the end of the day, I don't know if you're worried about it. I think you have some other services you use, but I'm a little worried about YouTube and its future, even though the revenue model shows that they make money, but it's not enough money to weather anything that could go wrong, like, hosting. And I don't know. You use other hosting software, right? Or services?
I run my own PeerTube instance. That's all I use.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. PeerTube.
But like, that's for me, like that's expensive. Like I'm not charging for my PeerTube, right? Like I don't know if there is a way to even do it. And I don't have ads on there, but it's quite expensive. And I'm using like all of the ways that you can like mitigate your bandwidth, right? Like I have there's a way to on PeerTube when like you can seed torrents basically of the videos that you're hosting in your browser. And then other people, when they come to your PeerTube, it downloads that video for you or on their thing. And then they become seeders as well, which is neat. Right. But even that it becomes, I mean, I'm using quite a bit of bandwidth doing it and I'm hosting it on its own server and it's, it's not cheap. So
this is the messiness of all this. Unfortunately with video, it is not free and people are going to have to understand that it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Like the PeerTube thing, like you couldn't do that as a full-time job unless you got paid somehow. Right. That's the crux of open source. Unless you have a project that supports it or donations, it's not viable. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. Yeah.
It is. And the other thing is like when you have other PeerTube instances peering with yours, they can also download your videos and seed them too, which is pretty cool. And that helps spread out the load. But it's still like,
it's still not going to mitigate if you don't have a pricing structure or any funds coming in. It becomes a hobby, which is great, but it can be very expensive if you're popular on it, right?
Right.
Like I couldn't imagine how much it costs to host my videos with how much I've streamed and how many videos I have.
Yeah. I'm not even streaming on there, but anyway, it's like, I don't know. Where did we start this on the character?
This is all AI. This is all like the trigger word for me was Google.
Yeah. Oh man, I can go off on tangents for days and days.
I know it shouldn't be off the console, it should be off the topic.
Yeah, I actually had a podcast called Off Topical at one point.
Oh, cool. I did not know that. Maybe I did actually.
I'm trying to look at like my bandwidth usage for my PeerTube. Now I'm curious. 2-factor authentication. It's fun.
Oh, is this the AI that maybe I didn't hear you right? Is this the AI that did like a Game of Thrones character and they fell in love and then they killed themselves, or is that a different one?
I don't know if it was Game of Thrones specifically, but
because there was a Game of Thrones one that recently that also happened where they, I should have said it in more softer language, but I do know that there was an AI that was associated with that where they fell in love with the AI and things went downhill from there.
Yeah, it's tragic.
It goes into social issues that lead up to that too, and it's kind of preying on them. Unfortunately, these AI bots prey on people that are lonely, and it needs to be regulated better.
It does. Just for a point of interest, in the last 30 days, I've served 224 gigabytes of information from my PeerTube.
In the last how many days?
30 days. So 224 gigabytes, which is like Actually, I thought it was going to be more than that, honestly, but
No, that's still a lot though.
it's still a lot in the last 30 days.
Oh my gosh. I know what hosting costs on certain websites. That's expensive.
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm using a service that isn't like price gouging in terms of bandwidth, but boy howdy.
How many minutes watched is that? Do you know? I'm curious because for me, I'd want to calculate what it would cost to actually be able to make that a sustainable business.
Yeah. Let me see. I can
That's
go
interesting.
here and click on this.
Because I've been looking into hosting my videos off just my website, not like doing it my own infrastructure, and I might not do it right away. I might do YouTube still, just to make it, because it's a fun project. First off, I like fun projects, but it's also just in case whatever happens to YouTube. I don't think they're going to go anywhere anytime soon, and I think too many people rely on them, but I don't know what they're going to do in the future.
I've had about 2,496 minutes watched in the last 30 days. So
wow,
yeah, it's very expensive.
That's a lot. Are the videos optimized, or are people watching it like the max?
They are optimized. So like the way PeerTube works is like when you upload it, it breaks the video down into little optimized streaming chunks.
Yeah.
And then people can choose like which version. There's like 2 or 3 different quality versions. But yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be optimized for compressed streaming.
Yeah. I kind of figured that. Okay. Yeah. And even with the optimization and everything, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's expensive. It's
not cheap.
It is not cheap. And I think YouTube does deserve, a lot of grace at times, because in order to create what they have with content creators and everything, it's very difficult. Hosting a video and doing all the stuff is not cheap. It's good. It probably could get reduced in the future if we actually had realistic, like, bandwidth alone. We don't need to get into all this. Like, I'm just going to try to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Because I don't like relying on YouTube or on Google products, but YouTube's would be one of the last ones I'd ever give up. So
Agree.
I pay for the subscription, so I don't see the ads.
Me too.
And it's great. I love it.
I was in the YouTube Red, like when YouTube Red was the thing.
Same.
I had YouTube Red, and then when they went over to Premium, I was like, maybe I really need to cut my budget back. I'm tired of these streaming services. And so I cut all of the streaming services out of my budget, including YouTube Red. And then as soon as I did that, I went and started watching a YouTube video. I was like, I can't handle the ads.
I understand why people use ad blockers, but they need to understand that, and this is my opinion. It is a little bit, I'm not going to ever condemn anyone for that, but it is a little bit of a theft thing, and it's expensive to run YouTube.
Yeah.
And when you're watching without ads and not paying in any way, you're both stealing from the content creator and also YouTube. That's my opinion. I don't think I'm not going to really condemn people for it per se, but people do need to understand. If you can't pay for anything, if you really I get it. I get the whole thing. If you're poor, I get it. It's hard. With even the ROM stuff and all. It's hard. So I try not to condemn, but it's really hard to watch YouTube though. Right now without some premium.
Do you have multiple YouTube accounts you sign into?
Because I do, and it sucks because I'll watch. So I do streaming. I used to stream it every week, and I need to get back into it. I'd stream every week on Games Revealed to stay consistent, and I'd watch YouTube videos on the Games Revealed channel. It just ads galore, right? I don't want to use my personal, but sometimes I just have to bring up the personal because the ads are so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I was we were out playing games in the living room. We were board games. And then I had music playing, and a couple of other people were adding music to the queue on YouTube Music. And then played 3 ads in a row when someone else's item in the queue came up. And I was like, how is this okay? I don't understand how people I don't know. It's just I can't handle it.
YouTube needs to rethink their model, I think, a little bit better.
You know.
I think the ads are like you said, long videos are expensive. Streaming's expensive. The companies say they don't make. I'm not going to get into that. Twitch says they don't make money, but you can see they make a lot of money, especially off of AWS charges. They just hide it.
Mhm.
I think partially because they can do write-offs and stuff like that. But it's another crappy thing with having these big companies that own other companies. They hide their costs really well.
You know.
But at the end of the day, though, I don't know what the solution is. I'm curious what people like. I wish we had we do have a comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. I'm really curious what people's solutions would be. Because it's either, what would be the solution, Gardner? Like ads, premium? Like, is there another solution that would work for people's budgets? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like the internet isn't designed. It isn't optimized for video. Like, and the fact is cable, you pay for cable TV, right? And then they still serve you ads because it's just not sustainable without the ads.
Well, a lot of the services are now serving ads too. If you have Amazon, HBO, Netflix, all have their base level ads supported now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason that the streaming services have just become cable again. It's like on-demand cable, and it's because it's just not, it's so incredibly expensive. And
well, it's sustainable. I honestly think they're doing fine, but the unlimited growth is what's causing some of this, I think.
Oh, of course.
They have to always be making a little bit more money every year, right?
Right.
And you can only grow so much.
Yeah. And there's ridiculous amounts of competition in the space too, where it's like, you know.
Yeah, that could be hurting it too.
Yeah. So I don't know. This is why going back to the Internet Archive thing, we need more of the Internet archived, like out there preserving this stuff, because when stuff like, when services like HBO Max or whatever it's called now goes away, because it probably will at some point, where are all those shows going to go? They're not going to be around, you know?
Maybe like sorry, continue.
Go ahead.
Maybe a good hybrid solution is allow us to buy the videos and we can host on our own devices. That could be a good one. Like if I want to watch someone's video, but I want to retain it for a while, I just pay $1 and I can download it and just have it and just watch it. Because there's like, when it comes to streaming services, because I don't know about YouTube and content creation, I don't know if people would be willing to do that. But when it comes to the like shows I watch, if they're out of all of, there's just some shows I'm like, I don't know if I can find this again, unless I went to an Internet Archive kind of system and found it. And that kind of makes me sad. If it's all digital and it goes away eventually, how do I preserve the stuff I love? YouTube videos, there's so many of them. I don't know if I would pay because there's so many for like, I don't know. I don't watch any content creator that I would probably pay individually. I will support them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes through membership, I'll buy memberships and stuff. I don't know if I'd individually buy a video, but it would be cool to be able to cache those videos, some videos, but I don't know.
And YouTube's doing what they can to prevent you from downloading videos now.
Yeah, they do try to prevent that, which is kind of funny and silly in some ways.
It's wild. I don't know. I could go off for hours on this topic.
I could too. And honestly, I really wanted to do a Halloween episode. I love Halloween, but and maybe we could do a delayed one or something like that, because I think we have really run the gamut on like time. I do have if you don't mind going into a little bit of Halloween, maybe we could do something next week or something. I don't know.
Actually, I'm down.
So it sounds like you played Dead Space during this time. Are there other Halloween-esque, it could even be silly, games that you like to play for the spooky season?
I mentioned Alien Isolation. Mm-hmm. There's also Double Fine has Costume Quest. I don't know if you've ever played that.
I haven't, but I know Double Fine.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since I've played it, but it's an RPG. It's pretty fun. I don't remember much of the premise of it either, but I remember live streaming it a couple of years ago. And it was really cute. I like Double Fine's games.
They very innovative games. I like them too.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think, like Penny Arcade had like On the Precipice of Darkness, which I thought was kind of a fun Halloween, Halloween style game, and stuff like Limbo and
Limbo's a good one.
what's the other one that they just did recently, like within the last 10 years?
Stuff that
Limbo.
reminds me of Limbo is like Little Nightmares a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That one's always a fun side scroller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you played a Little Nightmares before? That one,
I've seen trailer of it. I haven't played
they're
it.
fun. They're
Yeah.
actually worth playing, and I think they played great on the Steam Deck too. So it's one of those ones that's easy to pick up.
Nice.
And they're worth it. Like they're a mind trip a little bit. It's a very good indie series. I'd highly recommend it. It goes into the depths. I don't know if they try to be too metaphorical about certain things through it, but it's a fun ride. I definitely recommend it to anyone that's watching, because the grotesque beings that you're kind of going against, like, it's just bizarre, and I love that type of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, as far as me, I like picking up new games for the Halloween season and playing them usually. There's the Outlast. They had a multiplayer series that came out last year that I played with some of my community, and that was really fun. And like I said, this year I'm going to be playing most likely Silent Hill 2. I haven't played that in a decade and plus. Classic
That's the
game.
PS2 run, right?
PlayStation 1.
Silent Hill 2 was on
I
PlayStation
swear
1?
it could be PlayStation 2.
I don't know. Yeah. I remember playing the one on PS2 and I was like, I dare.
It could have been PS2. People can correct me. It probably was. And I was thinking of Silent Hill 1 because it's been so long. I don't remember which system.
Yeah.
Good. It's scary. Like Pyramid Head is probably one of the scariest creatures I think in any game for me that I've encountered. And then they also, I'm not going to spoil it if people haven't gotten spoiled, but like there's secret ending to Silent Hill 2. So go check that out. It is hilarious because the game is, I don't want to ruin it too much, but the game is super serious, right? It's scary and everything like that. And that ending is just like, it's a secret ending though. You have to like look up how to do it. It's funny. I definitely recommend checking that out because it's one of those fun Easter eggs that games used to have. And I'm glad that they brought it back in the remake, right? Games I feel like had much better chance of having weird, fun Easter eggs than they do now. So Silent Hill 2, definitely my recommendation. It's gotten really good reviews. Yeah, that's the only one I can really think of that and the Alan Wake too. I might pick up, yeah, those are just on my mind. I think games that play great on the Steam Deck too also is, and not to always like emphasize Steam Deck. I like to emphasize Steam Deck when I'm trying to just relax. And I already mentioned it multiple times, but the Evil Within series is really good on the Steam Deck. Also another good one. Worth also going out to, somewhere spooky and playing those. That adds to the atmosphere. It's another plus of the Steam Deck. I've done that. I've played I did it for a video. I played it, Dead Space out in the woods. That was fun.
Awesome.
It's
really
fun.
cool.
It's just fun to like liven up things a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You know what's a really good, fun one? It's not super scary. BioShock.
I think that's a little scary at times.
It
I
can
like
be.
It's not.
I didn't find it that scary, but when it first came out, I was living in Missouri with my friend, and his
Okay.
mom came to visit, and she watched me play the introduction, and my friend Mike told me that his mom had nightmares for weeks after that, and I was like, really? That was that scary to her? But like,
You know how you solve nightmares? You play more games.
exactly. You got.
No, it's actually like it's a proven thing. A lot of people, if you have nightmares, playing games. I don't know about horror games, but playing more games gives you control over the situation, and it helps with that.
Yes,
It's fascinating.
that's awesome.
But yeah, BioShock is. Dude, I deviate from topics. I do apologize. Like I'll jump back and forth
Me too.
with things. BioShock is like that horror light for me, where it's not horror, but like the concept is like terrifying.
Yeah.
Being stuck under the ocean, things collapsing, pressure, creatures that are just mutated. That's horrifying. I'd almost rather be in certain other horror aspects, like, than be in that.
Yeah.
Horror games, that is.
BioShock is one of my favorite games of all time. Like,
That's
and
good.
it's so oppressive. Like the atmosphere is like you're saying, you're underwater. You look outside and everything's just tinted blue, like, and there's very little like natural light. And there's so much darkness, and man, it's so great. And that when you get to uh the Bioshock Infinite DLC and you go back to Rapture with like that additional
Yeah,
level of polish, oh my God, it's so good.
it's really good. I need to play. Maybe that's a game I'll pick up soon and play again. It's been a few years.
Yeah,
All the Bioshocks are good.
yeah,
I love Bioshock Infinite, but it being in the sky was awesome, but it did miss a little bit of that aspect of being underwater.
yeah. The thing that I liked about
Yeah.
both games, that like the franchise in general, was like that the atmosphere contributed so much to the narrative, right? Because like you think about when you're underwater, and I don't want to give too much away. I was gonna like talk about the ending of the game, but both games are kind of deconstructing like political myth, right? And I
Oh, yeah.
like that, and
That's
and
the whole thing. It's the extremes of how a political system can go a certain way or an ideology, right?
yes, yep, and the fact that like in when you're underwater and like the pressures of just being human are crushing, and then like and it's deconstructing like the libertarianism ideals. And then when you're in Bioshock Infinite, you're in the sky, and you're and it's like anything is possible when you're in the sky, but like it's very easy to just fall off,
Yep.
and it like
It's got
sorry, go ahead.
it's like no, you're good. It's like the reverse of Bioshock, where Bioshock, you're going to get crushed down. And Infinite, you can just fall out of the sky. And like two fears, being underwater and the depths of like the unknown and that pressure of being like squeezed to death. But then in the sky, it has the, fear of heights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think they do storytelling very well, and how systems, if pushed to their extremes, can go really bizarrely wrong. That's what makes a good story, right? We're here for like, we live the normal. We want to know what the extremes are, for me at least. And so I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, me too. The two of my favorite games. So
I don't know where it lies. Like, it's one of my favorites. I have such a hard time categorizing all my favorite games, because like Half-Life is my favorite game, but
oh yeah,
Dead Space, I talk about Dead Space so much more. And the Dead Space remake is so much like, they did game company, like in dev studios. If you're going to make a game, like remaster a game or remake a game, that's a prime example how to do it. They changed a couple of things that needed to be changed, and then they kept everything else the same, but improved upon them. Like the audio echoes down the corridors, and stuff like that. It's just cool. I watched a lot of the developer experiences of that, and I really nerded out on that, like how excited they were to build Dead Space and make it part of the legacy of, because a lot of people were fans that did do the remake. I love it.
yeah,
That's one of the things I love about games, period, is the passion that either the gamers can have, the developers have, content creators have. It's fun to see that people are excited about life and this type of stuff. I'm getting maybe a little bit too up in the clouds about this, but yeah, no, good stuff.
absolutely.
And that's the great thing about horror. Horror, if done right, or storytelling in horror games, horror can be just gruesome, blood-soaked mess, and a fun thrill. But like, you get in the horror light, like I would even almost put Half-Life into, it has some horror elements.
Yeah,
Bioshock has some horror elements. Doom is like, you are the horror and everyone else is experiencing horror except for you, because you're just destroying everything.
I mean, Half-Life Alyx, like when you're like avoiding Jeff, that was probably the most terrifying moment I have ever experienced in a game. Like,
I agree with that, actually. Yeah.
but
But
like
that's
the
one of those
only
ones
thing I can
I would
imagine
not get.
being more terrifying is like
Yeah.
if you're playing Alien Isolation in VR. Oh god
I haven't
damn.
tried it yet, but they have a VR, right?
I don't think so. I'm just
Oh,
saying,
I think
like, trying to
I
imagine.
swear there's a
something more
mod or something. There's something where you can do it.
Yeah,
That sounds
Ugh.
terrifying, though.
I would not want to do that.
Uh-uh.
I did
Like,
play the Doom VR thing, and that was pretty scary.
Yeah,
Doom
it
VR
was
scared
pretty
me.
good. I played it. It was pretty good. I don't know why I didn't get into it as much. Just wasn't Half-Life Alyx, I guess.
The thing that really scared me was like right towards the beginning when you started playing it, and the pinky just charges at you. And I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. I agree with that. But in that, you can kill everything pretty much, right? Or do you?
Yeah.
I can't. I don't.
Yeah.
So for me, that's where my horror level goes. If I can't kill it, it's scary, because I have to run and then I have to like avoid it. And Jeff was still like, I would still play Jeff over every time, like in Half-Life Alyx. That's a great example of like, it's so good.
Do you know what I did in order to like deal with how scary Jeff was? Because I wanted to beat the game and I was live streaming it, and I was like, I have to like beat this, but it's so terrifying. I like went into the settings and I turned the resolution down, and then because the resolution was so much lower, there was that screen door effect. And I was like, I'm not believing this anymore. Like I could tell, funny. I could separate myself from it. Okay. And it worked. It worked.
Yeah. Now I get into systematic things where I'm like, okay, if I do this, I'm not going to have too many problems. But I should have I should have streamed that one. Streaming VR games aren't very fun because it's annoying to set up, but I like to go back to some of my old stuff that I streamed, and like, sometimes I'll overreact if I'm streaming, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to get those screams and those freak out moments. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I'm gonna have to be doing some of that. I need to do some streaming of some horror games next week. Always good times. Always exciting times. Those are the best ones to stream because then you have an emotion to it. As much as I'd like to continue talking about this, I think we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, it's been about 2 hours.
It's gonna have to be a multi-part episode at this point. Any last things you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Well, if you guys like this video, make sure you hit the like button, and you can also subscribe to this channel because we're doing these weekly, and it's pretty fun. It's really fun. And leave comments, because comments are like, I love getting feedback from people. It's awesome. I don't know if that's what you meant by final.
No, it works for me. I think it's an important thing. You should be commenting more. I try to, and we'll try to respond as quick as we can too, because I love comments. I love it when people just nerd out with us.
Yeah.
And if you're on another platform, go on over to YouTube, I guess, and comment there. I don't think we're going to have anything right off the bat for that, but, sorry, my voice is going out now. So it might be a good time to head out. But yeah, I think we're going to be like, it will be very soon though. And and if you're okay with this, but I think we'll be on like Apple Podcast and a bunch of other services very soon once it's all set up. So I know that some people like me, podcasts, sometimes I like to listen to it on Apple just because, or like Spotify. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching and listening. Catch you guys next time.
See you later.